Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Glad to be back.
This time, we're tackling a figure whose life and legacy are basically inseparable from the story of modern India.
Absolutely, Mahatma Gandhi.
Exactly. And, this is part 2 of our series on modern Indian history.
Right.
Crucial topic for anyone fascinated by the forces that shaped India in the 20th century,
Definitely.
especially for those preparing for the UPSC GS1 exam.
Oh, absolutely. A must know.
And hey, if you're finding this deep dive helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about a man who went by many names. Mahatma, Bapu, even just Gandhi. But no matter what you call him, his impact is undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in India, but globally.
Global icon.
Think Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela.
Oh, yeah. Huge influence.
They all drew inspiration from this one man. What's fascinating is how he earned that title, Bapu.
Father.
It wasn't through force or political maneuvering.
Nope.
It was through a deep connection with the people.
Yeah, he truly embodied that.
He really did. Leading with unwavering principles of truth and nonviolence, or as they're known in Sanskrit, Satya and Ahimsa.
Right.
These weren't just words for Gandhi.
No, they were a way of life.
They were the very foundation of his approach to resistance.
Satyagraha.
Okay, but what exactly do those terms mean?
Right.
For those of us who aren't Sanskrit scholars,
Sure.
how can we wrap our heads around Satyagraha and Ahimsa?
Well, imagine facing down an oppressive system, not with weapons, but with the sheer force of truth.
Wow.
And the refusal to harm.
Powerful.
That's Satyagraha in action. It's about clinging to truth so fiercely that it becomes a weapon against injustice.
I see.
And ahimsa is the heart of it, the unwavering belief that all life is sacred and violence is never the answer.
And Gandhi didn't just preach these ideas, he put them into practice over and over again. You see it in the Champaran Satyagraha, where he stood with indigo farmers in Bihar, exploited by the British. This is where you see the genius of Satyagraha. It wasn't just about winning concessions for those farmers. It was about awakening a sense of agency in an entire population.
Absolutely.
Showing them that ordinary people, united by truth, could challenge an empire.
Powerful stuff.
And that same spirit is there in the Ahmedabad mill strike,
Yeah, absolutely.
where he sided with textile workers demanding fair wages.
Right.
What strikes me is how Gandhi navigated such diverse issues,
He did.
from rural farmers to urban laborers, always guided by those same core principles.
Yeah, a remarkable consistency.
It really is. He had this remarkable ability to understand the pulse of the people,
He did.
tap into their grievances, and channel that energy into nonviolent resistance.
Yeah.
And at Ahmedabad, his commitment was so profound that he undertook a hunger strike,
Right.
a tactic he'd used many times
Yeah.
to exert moral pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, he secured a significant wage increase for the workers.
He did.
Speaking of iconic events, we can't talk about Gandhi without mentioning the Dandi March, also known as the Salt March. This is where things get really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Here you have Gandhi leading thousands on a 240-mile trek from Sabarmati Ashram to the coastal village of Dandi. Their goal? To make their own salt. On the surface, it sounds almost absurd, right?
It does.
Making salt.
Right.
How could that possibly challenge the mighty British Empire? But that's precisely where Gandhi's genius lay.
It is.
The salt tax was a symbol of British oppression, a way to control a basic necessity.
Absolutely.
By choosing to break this law, Gandhi wasn't just making a statement. He was igniting a nationwide civil disobedience movement.
Right.
It was a brilliant move that exposed the absurdity of the colonial system and galvanized the Indian people.
It really did.
And fasting, as you mentioned, became a recurring tool in his arsenal.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about depriving himself for the sake of it.
No.
For Gandhi, fasting was a deeply spiritual act,
It was.
a way to purify his own intentions and amplify his message.
Absolutely.
It was a way to appeal to the conscience of his adversaries and demonstrate the depth of his commitment. Remember the Pune Pact?
Yes.
He undertook a fast unto death to secure a compromise on Dalit representation, ultimately leading to the agreement with Ambedkar.
Right.
And it's impossible to understand Gandhi without acknowledging his deep critique of British rule.
Yeah.
He wasn't just fighting for political independence, he was fighting for the soul of India.
He was.
He saw how colonialism had warped India's economy, its culture, its very sense of self.
Yeah.
He saw poverty, famine, and exploitation as direct consequences of British policies.
Absolutely.
He believed that true Swaraj, or self-rule, meant not just political freedom, but also reclaiming India's economic and cultural sovereignty.
Right.
So for Gandhi, freedom wasn't just about kicking out the British. It was about building a new India, one based on its own values and traditions.
Exactly.
That's what makes Gandhi so relevant even today, especially for those preparing for the UPSC exam. His vision for India went beyond just politics.
It did.
It encompassed social, economic, and spiritual renewal. And it's in that vision that we see concepts like Swaraj and unity and diversity take shape.
Right. They weren't just slogans.
They were core principles guiding his actions and his aspirations for India. You see, Swaraj for Gandhi wasn't just about replacing British rulers with Indian ones. It was about self-governance at every level, individual, community, and national.
Yeah.
It was about moral and spiritual awakening, about reclaiming India's cultural identity and creating a just and equitable society. And unity in diversity, a phrase we often hear,
We do.
wasn't just a catchy slogan for Gandhi.
No.
He truly envisioned an India where Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, and people of all faiths could coexist harmoniously. He understood that India's strength lay in its incredible diversity, and that true independence could only be achieved through mutual respect and cooperation among all communities. This was especially crucial during a time of rising communal tensions.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget his emphasis on simple living and ethical governments.
Right.
It was a direct challenge to the extravagance and exploitative nature of the colonial system.
It was.
He walked the talk, wearing simple khadi clothing, living in ashrams, and advocating for a life of service and self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about appearances. It was about embodying a different set of values,
Right.
a rejection of material excess in favor of a life grounded in principles. Now, we have to address a topic that's complex and sensitive, but crucial to understanding Gandhi's legacy, his views on the caste system.
Okay.
It's a system that has plagued India for centuries,
It has.
creating deep social divisions and perpetuating discrimination.
Right.
You're right. It's a complicated issue.
Yeah.
But one thing is clear. Gandhi was vehemently opposed to the practice of untouchability. He saw the suffering inflicted upon those deemed untouchable and dedicated himself to dismantling this inhumane system. He even coined the term Harijans, meaning children of God, to refer to Dalits, those considered untouchable. It was his way of challenging the dehumanizing label imposed on them by the caste system and affirming their inherent dignity. However, it's important to acknowledge that the term Harijan is debated today, with some finding it patronizing. It's crucial to understand the historical context and the intent behind Gandhi's usage, recognizing that language and perceptions evolve over time.
Absolutely.
But Gandhi wasn't just about words, he was about action. He launched campaigns, organized protests, and even undertook fasts to draw attention to the plight of Dalits and demand social justice.
He did.
One of his most notable efforts was the temple entry movement.
Yeah.
He fought for Dalits' right to enter Hindu temples,
Right.
a right denied to them solely because of their caste.
Right.
It was a direct challenge to the deeply ingrained hierarchies of the caste system. And he established the Harijan Sevak Sangh, an organization specifically dedicated to the social and economic upliftment of Dalits.
Yeah.
He understood that dismantling untouchability required not just changing laws, but changing hearts and minds.
He did.
But his relationship with B.R. Ambedkar, another towering figure in the fight against caste discrimination, was complex, wasn't it?
It was.
They both shared the goal of eradicating untouchability, but their approaches differed.
They did.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ambedkar, a Dalit leader himself, believed in separate electorates for Dalits to ensure their political representation.
Right.
Gandhi, on the other hand, favored a unified electorate with reserved seats. Their disagreements were passionate and public, reflecting the complexities of the issue itself.
They were.
But despite their differences, they ultimately found common ground in the Pune Pact. This historic agreement guaranteed reserved seats for Dalits in legislative assemblies, marking a significant victory in the struggle for Dalit rights.
It was.
It's a powerful reminder that even amidst disagreements, finding common ground is possible, especially when driven by a shared commitment to justice and equality.
Yeah.
And speaking of Gandhi's vision for a better future, let's delve into his unique approach to education, Naitalim, or new education. He envisioned a system that went beyond rote learning,
Right.
one that nurtured the whole individual,
Yeah.
fostering not just intellectual growth, but also character, creativity, and practical skills.
It was revolutionary for its time.
Yeah, it was.
Because it rejected the traditional rote learning system that was prevalent then.
Right.
Gandhi firmly believed that education shouldn't just be about filling minds with facts.
Yeah.
It should be about empowering individuals to become self-reliant, responsible citizens capable of contributing to their communities.
And a key part of Naitalim was integrating practical skills into the curriculum, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just about books and classrooms.
Yeah.
Gandhi deeply valued the dignity of labor and wanted education to reflect that. So he incorporated vocational training, teaching students skills like agriculture, handicrafts, and carpentry. This way, they wouldn't just be prepared for exams, they'd be equipped to participate in building a self-sufficient India.
Right.
And this ties directly into his vision of a village-based economy, doesn't it?
It does.
Where communities were empowered to produce their own food, clothing, and essential goods,
Right.
fostering both economic independence and social harmony.
Precisely. Naitalim was more than just an educational philosophy. It was a blueprint for a new social and economic order rooted in Gandhian principles of simplicity, self-reliance, and social justice.
His preference for a village-based economy, with his emphasis on decentralization and self-sufficiency, often sparks debate, even today. It's fascinating, isn't it? In today's world, dominated by global capitalism and rapid technological advancements, his ideas might seem almost radical.
Yeah,
But they also resonate with contemporary concerns about sustainability,
they do.
inequality, and the need for more localized solutions to global problems.
Absolutely.
He wasn't entirely against technology, but he was wary of its potential to concentrate wealth and power in the hands of a few,
Right.
leading to further exploitation and social divisions.
Yeah.
He saw village economies as a way to counter that trend, to empower local communities and create a more equitable distribution of resources.
Yeah.
And this brings us to khadi, the hand-spun cloth that became so closely associated with Gandhi and the independence movement.
Yes.
Khadi was more than just fabric. It was a powerful symbol of self-reliance and resistance against the British textile industry.
Absolutely.
By encouraging people to spin their own yarn and weave their own cloth, Gandhi wasn't just promoting a cottage industry. He was striking at the heart of British economic dominance.
It was a boycott woven into the very fabric of everyday life.
It was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about economics. It was about reclaiming a sense of pride in Indian craftsmanship and heritage.
Right.
And it's important to remember that Gandhi's rejection of large-scale industrialization, whether capitalist or socialist, was quite radical for his time.
Absolutely.
He saw both systems as inherently exploitative and unsustainable. He believed that true progress lay in creating an economy that prioritized local needs, ecological balance, and equitable distribution of wealth.
Yeah.
Ideas that align surprisingly well with modern sustainability movements. And his concept of sarvodaya, meaning welfare for all, really encapsulates his vision, doesn't it? It wasn't enough for him to just achieve political independence. He wanted to create a society where everyone, regardless of caste, creed, or economic status, had access to basic necessities, equal opportunities, and a life of dignity.
Absolutely. Sarvodaya was about ensuring that the fruits of progress benefited everyone, not just a select few. It was about social, economic, and political justice.
A vision that remains as relevant today as it was during his lifetime. It's remarkable how his ideas, so deeply rooted in ancient Indian traditions, resonate with many of the challenges we face in the 21st century. From rising inequality and environmental degradation to the search for a more just and sustainable way of life, Gandhi's message feels surprisingly timely. His vision transcended national boundaries, inspiring countless individuals and movements worldwide. And that's where his global influence becomes truly remarkable. We've mentioned figures like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela, but the impact goes far beyond those iconic individuals.
He does.
King, in his struggle for civil rights in America, explicitly drew from Gandhi's principles of Satyagraha and Ahimsa.
He did.
He led peaceful marches, boycotts, and sit-ins, echoing the methods Gandhi had employed in India decades earlier. It's amazing to see that direct line of influence
It is.
across continents and cultures. United by a shared belief in the power of nonviolence to challenge injustice and oppression. And Mandela, in his long and arduous fight against apartheid in South Africa, also acknowledged Gandhi as a major source of inspiration. He saw clear parallels between the oppression faced by Black South Africans and the injustices inflicted upon Indians under British rule.
Absolutely.
Both movements demonstrated the power of nonviolent resistance to dismantle deeply entrenched systems of oppression and inspire hope for a better future. It's a powerful testament to the enduring legacy of Gandhi's ideas.
It is.
Their ability to transcend borders and inspire generations fighting for justice, equality, and a more humane world. And that legacy is officially recognized on the world stage.
It is.
Gandhi's birthday, October 2nd, is celebrated as the International Day of Nonviolence, a global call for peace, understanding, and the rejection of violence in all its forms. It's a day to reflect on his life, his teachings, and the power of nonviolence to transform individuals, communities, and even nations. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the life and legacy of Mahatma Gandhi, it's clear that understanding him is crucial for anyone who wants to grasp the complexities of modern India.
Absolutely.
His influence on India's political, social, and cultural landscape is undeniable.
It is.
From the principles enshrined in the Constitution to the ongoing debates about development and social justice, Gandhi's ideas continue to shape the nation's trajectory. He wasn't just a freedom fighter. He was a philosopher, a social reformer, a visionary who dared to imagine a different kind of world.
He was.
And his life serves as a powerful reminder that even in the face of immense power and oppression, individuals armed with truth, courage, and compassion can bring about monumental change. Before we go, let's leave our listeners with a thought to ponder. Imagine Gandhi were alive today. How would he address the challenges India faces in the 21st century? Climate change, economic inequality, religious intolerance. It's a question worth pondering as we navigate the complexities of the modern world.
That's an excellent point. It's a challenge to apply his timeless wisdom to our modern dilemmas.
It is.
It's almost as if he's left us homework, urging us to find creative, non-violent solutions to the pressing issues of our time.
He certainly has.
Yeah, they seem radical, but maybe they were ahead of their time.
Right, like we're seeing this resurgence of local movements and sustainable living and maybe Gandhi was onto something.
He might have been.
And speaking of self-reliance, that whole khadi thing, the hand-spun cloth, what a brilliant move.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
wasn't just clothes, it was a whole movement
Symbol of resistance.
against the British textile industry. Boycott foreign goods,
Yeah.
promote Indian craftsmanship,
Exactly.
encouraging people to spin their own yarn, weave their own cloth. It's like he was saying, look, we can do this ourselves.
A visual reminder of India's potential.
Powerful stuff. And then there's his rejection of large-scale industrialization, both capitalist and socialist, like, whoa, radical, right?
Bold move for the time.
Especially when those models were seen as the way forward.
The path to progress.
But he saw the flaws.
He did. In both systems.
Exploitation, environmental damage, all that.
Concentration of wealth.
Right. And his vision, it's like what we'd call sustainable development today.
Absolutely.
Eco-balance, social justice, thinking about the future.
Yeah, thinking long term.
It's amazing how his ideas, rooted in ancient traditions, connect with today's movements.
You really do.
Environment, fair trade, all of it.
It's like he was ahead of the curve.
And then there's Sarvodaya, welfare for all. It really sums up his whole vision. It wasn't just freedom. It was about everyone thriving.
Exactly. Everyone benefits.
Social, economic, political justice, the whole package. Still so relevant today,
Absolutely.
especially with all the inequality and division we see.
It's like his message is timeless.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, I think his experiences shaped his worldview, seeing the impact of colonialism firsthand.
The poverty, the exploitation,
The
the erosion of values.
It fueled his fire,
To create a different India.
free from oppression, grounded in justice, compassion, self-reliance. It wasn't just about India's liberation, though.
No, his influence went beyond borders.
His ideas resonated with people fighting for justice everywhere.
All over the world.
We talked about King and Mandela,
Yeah, huge figures.
both acknowledging Gandhi's influence.
Yeah.
King, with civil rights struggle, adopting Satyagraha and Ahimsa,
Peaceful protests, boycotts, sit-ins.
right out of Gandhi's playbook.
Better.
And it worked.
It did.
Amazing to see how those ideas traveled, from India to America, changing the course of history.
And then Mandela in South Africa fighting apartheid,
Another long, hard struggle.
drawing strength from Gandhi's teachings.
Seeing the parallels, oppression, injustice, it's a universal story.
And again, nonviolent resistance, proving its power,
Hmm.
dismantling systems of oppression.
Giving people hope. It's a testament to how enduring Gandhi's ideas are.
IR.
Transcending borders, inspiring generations, and it's recognized globally, officially.
Yeah.
Gandhi's birthday, October 2nd. International Day of Nonviolence.
The day for peace.
Understanding, rejecting violence in all its forms. Pretty powerful legacy.
It is.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
About the power of one person's ideas.
And the ripple effect they can have.
Exactly. So we're diving deep into Gandhi, but it's more than just history.
It is. It's about applying his ideas today.
Especially for you UPSC folks out there. How do Gandhi's ideas inform your understanding of modern India? What stands out to you? How can his teachings guide us now?
Good questions to consider, not just for exams, but for life in general.
Because it's about more than facts and figures.
It's about values.
Truth, nonviolence, compassion.
Believing in the good in people.
That's a powerful legacy. And now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about Gandhi's influence on art, literature, popular culture.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
How his life, his message, it's inspired so much creative expression.
It really has, across all these art forms.
Like his spirit's still out there, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Sparking conversations, making people think.
Inspiring reflection.
And it's global, this
Yeah.
influence, not just India.
No, not at all.
Films, plays, paintings, sculptures, you name it. Artists all over the world have found something in his story.
They have.
His philosophy, that commitment to justice, it's powerful stuff.
It is.
I mean, think about Richard Attenborough's film, Gandhi.
Oh, yeah, classic.
Won all those Oscars, brought Gandhi to a whole new audience.
And beautifully captured his essence, the nonviolent struggle.
Exactly. And then you've got all the books.
Yeah.
Fiction, nonfiction, tons of them.
Exploring every angle.
Biographies, histories, novels, you name it.
Right.
Writers grappling with his personality, his message.
The complexities, the contradiction.
Right, because he was a real person, not just a symbol.
Exactly.
And speaking of symbols, his image is everywhere.
Oh, yeah, it's iconic.
Posters, murals, even T-shirts.
Coffee mugs, you see it everywhere.
It's like he's become this shorthand for peace, nonviolence. That power of the human spirit overcoming the odds.
A global symbol of hope.
And this brings us to something interesting. Gandhi in music.
Oh, yeah, the music connection.
You might not think of him as a musical muse, but that message, love, unity, social justice, it's spoken to musicians for generations.
Across all genres, too.
From protest songs to folk ballads to classical stuff, even rock anthems.
Artists finding ways to express his teachings through music.
Using their voices to amplify his call for peace and change.
Powerful combination.
Think about Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind.
Not explicitly about Gandhi, but the spirit's there.
Totally. Questioning injustice, searching for answers.
In a world full of conflict.
And of course, closer to home, so many Indian musicians have been inspired by Gandhi.
Oh, absolutely. From devotional songs to patriotic anthems.
Even contemporary fusion, you hear it everywhere.
In the lyrics, the melodies, the whole feel of the music.
It's like his legacy keeps evolving, finding new ways to express itself.
Inspiring artists to use their creativity for good.
Promoting peace, understanding, justice, all through music.
Powerful stuff.
It reminds us that Gandhi's message wasn't just about politics or social change. It was about a shift in consciousness.
Yeah, a deeper understanding.
It's recognizing our connection to each other, the power of love to overcome hate.
A timeless message.
Exactly. It transcends borders, cultures, time itself. Speaks to artists, activists, everyday people, anyone trying to make the world better.
To create a more just and compassionate world.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Gandhi's legacy,
A multifaceted legacy.
we hope you've gained a new appreciation for how far-reaching his influence has been.
He was more than just a leader.
A spiritual guide, social reformer, cultural icon.
His message is still relevant today.
And for those of you prepping for the UPSC, hopefully this gives you some good insights.
Definitely.
But beyond the exam, we hope it sparks something.
A desire to learn more.
Read his writings, check out the art and music he inspired,
And really think about his teachings.
how they can guide us now, with all the challenges we face.
Yeah, it's about more than just history.
Because Gandhi's legacy, it's a gift to all of us
A reminder of what's possible.
when we tap into our potential for good.
For creating a more just and peaceful world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep striving to make a difference.